This video is a film study exploration of how Mike Macdonald, Aden Durde, and the Seattle Seahawks defensive staff have really weaponized 2 or 3 different versions of a nickel blitz concept. Kind of combines old school 3 deep, 3 under zone blitz package with what I typically refer to as the glitch blitz. I first began to see it when Mike Macdonald was the defensive coordinator for the Ravens in 2022. Even saw some iterations of it during his time spent at Michigan in 2021. This is the play from Week 14 that I want to kind of use to talk about. I'm going to briefly intro it here and then kind of circle back to it later on by illustrating some old school zone blitz packages as well as what I refer to as the glitch blitz. The glitch blitz definitely usually has 2 defensive tackles that are going to line up, occupy interior offensive linemen, typically a guard and or a center, and then drop out in pass coverage. And you can see that's what's happening here with Leonard Williams, and I believe that's Jerron Reed with the club on his right hand. It's usually tagged with a nickel blitz from the field, and the idea is just simple math, in my opinion, occupying certain players, and in this case, they're also occupying the right tackle with DeMarcus Lawrence. And then since the running back is working across the field to deal with the edge defender from the boundary, Devin Witherspoon has a clear path to the quarterback, Kirk Cousins. Not really going to talk about the coverage necessarily. It does end up being incomplete down the field. By the way, this was the first possession for Atlanta in Week 14. So this is the first possession, the first time that they've seen a third down. And already we have kind of this forfeiture, if you will, of middle of the field reads. It's essentially a half field read or a half field play concept, I should say, from Atlanta. And I oftentimes think it's because of the threat of the glitch blitz, these defensive tackles dropping out and kind of being in the window over the middle. And I'll show you 2 plays over the course of this video to kind of illustrate the danger for quarterbacks in just, throwing the ball over the middle of the field with those defensive tackles clogging up passing lanes. For the purposes of a more clear explanation, let's go over a little bit of traditional or typical zone blitz stuff. Now, this one's somewhat irregular. It's 3rd and 7, Week 12 against the Tennessee Titans. I believe it's during the 3rd quarter when, I did a video called When You Piss Off the Seattle Seahawks Defense or something along those lines. The idea was it was 3 plays in a row where they brought incredible pressure. In this case, you've got trips to the bottom side of our screen, the left-hand side for Tennessee's offense, and they're still blitzing Devin Witherspoon from that side. How do they get that accomplished? Normally, it's combined with the edge defender on the other side of the field, in this case the boundary, dropping out in coverage. So from a mathematical standpoint, you're trading the nickel defender for the outside linebacker to the boundary in a dropout situation whereby basically you create a 3 deep, 3 under coverage. Now this one looks somewhat irregular. I think it's because of the nature of the alignment of number 2 and number 1 being so wide. So some of these second level defenders that are hedging out to that side have got to really push to get over there. So essentially they're slinging the coverage. I would call this 1, 2, 3 under, and then your 3 deep portion of it. Of course, it doesn't look perfect, from a level standpoint, but you get the idea. They are covering or reflecting the alignment of the receivers. In this case, the Titans lined up in trips. Tight end stayed into block and was occupied by DeMarcus Lawrence. And that's what really allowed Witherspoon to be one-on-one with the running back. If you guys, followed my coverage that week, I think he's being held here. It doesn't really matter. Byron Murphy finishes it off. I'll give you the end zone angle. The idea behind, illustrating this play, which is a different blitz, even though it involves the nickel DB, is to illustrate the difference between what I refer to as the glitch blitz and a typical zone blitz, and then doubling or circling back, I should say, to that Falcons play to kind of show this merging of the 2. So Boye Mafe is going to drop out to the boundary. DeMarcus Lawrence is off screen to you guys right. You can't see him because of the frame that I've got there, but he's going to drop out, be occupied by the tight end. The running back was initially looking across Cam Ward's face. I believe he's actually looking at Drake Thomas, not necessarily Witherspoon, but he could be looking at Witherspoon. He certainly tries to pick Witherspoon up. Witherspoon, is able to take on half a man. The outside arm of the running back, he's being held, in my opinion there. It doesn't matter because Byron Murphy finishes it off, like I said. This one's a little cleaner, number one, because it's a 2-by-2 formation. You got tight end, receiver to the bottom side, and then 2 receivers up to the top into the boundary. In addition, every iteration of this doesn't involve Devin Witherspoon. This one, in fact, is Nick Manwari because he's playing the nickel set up to the field. Again, you've got an occupy blitz by DeMarcus Lawrence, who seems to be involved in a lot of these zone blitz situations. He's occupying the tight end. The tackle had to step down. And DeMarcus Lawrence Trevor Lawrence is looking to the boundary, and that's exactly where the outside linebacker, once again, it's Boye Mafe, dropped out. So we're talking about where Trevor Lawrence is looking here, and I will give you the end zone angle of this one. Basically, I would call this a more typical 3 deep, 3 under. It looks a little cleaner from that standpoint with the 3 deep guys there, and there's your 3 under defenders in what most would refer to as a classic zone blitz. End zone angle of the same play. Again, the blitz is coming from the field. It's a Manwari. And the reason why he's able to be free here is because the right guard is stepping to, I believe that's Drake Thomas, and the right tackle is stepping to Ernest Jones IV. In addition, now we've got 2 outside linebackers lined up to the boundary, in Nwosu and Mafe, and they're both dropping out in pass coverage. And Nwosu becomes the middle defender in the 3 under portion. And you'll see that Mafe will, disappear off screen for you because he's pushing out basically to defend hot 2 into the flats. Free rush by Manwari. It's all math, if you ask me, by occupying, number one, the tight end with DeMarcus Lawrence, and the right guard and right tackle having to deal with 2 players on their own, in this case 2 inside linebackers, Drake Thomas and Ernest Jones IV. Perfect usage of a zone blitz. It basically involves bringing 5 conceptually, with one of them being from the second level. In this case, it's a Manwari, even though he's almost lined up on the scrimmage. I'm talking about a typical second-level defender, and then dropping out an outside linebacker from the other side. In this case, Seattle's dropping out too. Now I'll try to illustrate the difference between a typical zone blitz and what I refer to as the glitch blitz. Unfortunately, the best example from a perspective standpoint, but also the defensive tackle drop, is one from Mike Macdonald's season, or second season, I should say, in Baltimore. This is 2023 AFC Division round against the Houston Texans. I believe it's the 4th quarter, and that's a 4th and 6. That's why Houston's going for it, from their own 33. So it is a nickel blitz from the outside. This is Arthur Millette. Typically, you have this chain effect, whereby the outside linebacker on the opposite side into the boundary is dropping. Recall on the previous play, it was Boye Mafe and Uchenna Nwosu, right? On the original one, I think it was Boye Mafe only. That's usually the dynamic that you get in a zone blitz concept. That's not what occurs with the glitch blitz. So first of all, this is the targeted receiver down to the bottom side of the screen. We'll let that flow, a little bit so you guys can see it. Free rush from Arthur Millette. Gets him a lane to the quarterback because they've occupied the tackles. They've occupied the tackles with both OLBs, Boye Mafe and Jadeveon Clowney at the time with the Ravens. Odafe Owe, not Boye Mafe. Odafe Owe at the bottom side of the screen, and then Jadeveon Clowney. They're both occupying the tackles, and that allows Arthur Millette free lane to the quarterback. He'll deliver a shot on C.J. Stroud, who's trying to navigate throwing the football over the top of the defensive tackle dropping out. That's Nnamdi Madubuike, who, of course, at this point is injured, and the Ravens, fans really don't even know if he's going to be able to return. But you can see what occurs, right? How does it happen? Why? Because mathematically, they're occupying a guard center, sometimes guard combo with 2 defensive tackles. It's Travis Jones and Madubuike. So they're occupying those players, number 1. Number 2, they've lined up an inside linebacker, in this case, Roquan Smith, to occupy the right guard. Clowney being dealt with by the right tackle, free lane for Millette. It's really easy math, right? You trickle down, trickle out effect, however you want to refer to it. A major part of it for me that I was always impressed by was the defensive tackles dropping out and identifying routes. And Madubuike was a guy that would normally just stare at the quarterback like you see here. Nonetheless, he is in the window. I don't have the end zone angle for this particular video that I'm showing you, but he is in the window of C.J. Stroud trying to throw the football over the middle here. I believe it's to Dalton Schultz. It was the first time I saw him use this was when Mike Macdonald got hired to be the defensive coordinator for the Ravens in 2022. Went and got a bunch of college film from Michigan in 2021. I saw at least 3 or 4 different coverages that I thought were interesting, and at first I really didn't even understand. This one I kept noticing. I was like, okay, why do we get 2 defensive tackles dropping out here, and then the nickel blitz from the outside? It took me probably a couple hours to figure it out. Okay, it's just math. They're occupying rushers on the inside. Defensive tackles dropping out means that you've wasted a center, guard, maybe both guards, in fact, in pass pro, on players who weren't rushing. Travis Jones, Matabike, and you can see Roquan Smith has actually stopped as well. And that allows a free rusher off the edge. Pretty commonly used at this point in 2025, but it wasn't in 2022. I really do think that Mike Macdonald kind of brought this scheme to the NFL, and I could be wrong there. You're more than welcome if you have knowledge of this blitz, what I refer to as the glitch blitz, that probably has some other totally different name. If you have knowledge of someone else using it prior to 2022 in the NFL, more than welcome to let me know. It's one that I first noticed when he came to Baltimore in his first season as a DC, and then 2023, he used it a lot more, especially on 3rd and 4th down situations. The last 2 seasons, it's kind of caught on, and there's at least 6 or 8 teams out there that'll run it, usually once a week. So now let's return back to the play that I really wanted to talk about, but I wanted to provide some context and what I think makes this one different. So it's a 3rd and 7, like I said, on the first possession. You are going to get, both defensive tackles dropping out, but now you've got a player, a potential blitzer, lined up in between them. And in this case, it's Nick Manwari. In addition, DeMarcus Lawrence is going to occupy the right tackle, number 71. And the way that Atlanta tries to handle this is they keep the tight end in to block, and they slide the offensive line to the right. Do I believe that they had an inclination, or a suspicion, I should say, that it was going to be the glitch blitz? No, I do not actually, because otherwise they wouldn't have had the running back and the tight end work across and then open up a free lane for Witherspoon. But the difference here for me is twofold. Number one is that you've got a Manwari lined up between the 2 defensive tackles that are dropping. That's a slight evolution or change. And then number 2, instead of blitzing from the outside, now Witherspoon is blitzing through the B gap. And the only thing that I can understand, or the only thing that I can offer here, is I wonder if Seattle knew what kind of pass pro they were going to get. And I think it's one of the elements of the game that Macdonald does the best job of, and that's attack certain people's pass pro. Both edge defenders occupied blockers. In this case, Lawrence, the right tackle, and then from the boundary side, edge defender, or pass rusher, occupying the tight end and the running back. Free lane for Witherspoon to deliver a huge hit, and you still have both defensive tackles dropping out to provide some help in the middle of the field if the quarterback was to go there. Finally, give you the all-22 angle. Ball's on the left hash. My apologies if that blue line is disorienting, or some people don't like it. I usually use it to refer to the fact that the ball is, on the left hash, and in this case, the boundary, the short side of the field is down here, and the field or the wide side is set to the top. Why does that matter? Well, the nickel is going to be to the field side 95% of the time against 11 personnel, or in the NFL for that matter. This is a very Rex Ryan-esque blitz based on my memory. I don't know that I can say that I remember him running this specific blitz, because at the time that he was the defensive coordinator for the Ravens, I was coaching high school football and he wasn't able to track video like I try to do now. But in any case, Leonard Williams is going to drop out. So is Jerron Reed, and Julian Love stacked in the middle of the field. They're making it look like man free is basically what they're doing. They're making it look like man here, right? Man. But the problem is the third man defender for theoretically the inside tight end or inside receiver, is lined up at depth. So you got a problem there. I think what they're doing is allowing him just to match the routes, because they know that they're subtracting Devin Witherspoon from the coverage, okay? And he's going to go through a big gap blitz like I showed earlier. But as far as the coverage to the bunch, they're pushing Julian Love to the bunch side, to the trip side. This element and the B-gap blitz, the rush to the inside by Witherspoon, is what, to me, makes this different. Usually with the glitch blitz, it's just man. You're usually getting man, and then you've got a man orientation there, But what's happening here is they're matching this because it's a bunch. And so what I mean by that is watch Kobe Bryant drop down. And this is what makes this defense so much fun to watch, is trying to deconstruct or back map, I guess, how they're getting these things done. I think right here you've got Kobe Bryant communicating to Julian Love, probably verbally, but also pointing, you're going to take Kyle Pitts. Because of the release of these guys off the bunch, my suspicion is that this is complete man with Tariq Woolen, man on the outside receiver. Witherspoon is blitzing, and now these two guys are matching or reading the release of the other two remaining players from the bunch. In addition, the blitz path of the DB, Devin Witherspoon, is through the B gap. That's what makes this a slightly different version of the glitch blitz. You can see just after the release, Kirk Cousins got waylaid, and it's a legal hit. It's a totally legal hit, the way Devin Witherspoon turns his body, makes sure he doesn't make contact with his helmet on Kirk Cousins' helmet, lowers his pad level basically to ensure that he can't make contact with Kirk Cousins' helmet, number one. Number two, he's not going low, so he's using kind of like the outer portion of his shoulder. Love is over there to challenge. It's obviously targeting Kyle Pitts. It's a great coverage. For me, for my money, it's a slightly different version of the glitch blitz. I know that other people would say, oh, it's not that different, coach. They're just adapting it to the bunch. Partially true, but it's just, again, it's what makes it, for me, so challenging and fun to try to break down what the Seattle Seahawks do on defense, particularly on third downs, because they're so variable, they're so multiple, and they like to attack. And in this case, the final point that I'll make here, you see this dynamic a whole lot on third downs against Seattle, and that's teams basically forfeiting one side of the field from a pass route standpoint, the concepts that they're running or, in fact, are not running to the bottom side of the screen. Everything is a half-field read, at least on this particular play. That doesn't happen on every third down, on each and every third down, don't get me wrong, but I really feel like the blitz package, the entirety of what the Seattle Seahawks defense is offering right now, especially on third downs, is almost dissuading people, or I should say narrowing or limiting their available pass concepts that they're willing to go to, because the pass pro is something that Macdonald and Durde are so expertly attacking and breaking down. Teams don't know on a weekly basis exactly how he's going to attack their pass protections on third downs. And he's got so many answers. It's a whole lot of fun. The big matchups are obviously coming up against the Rams in a couple of weeks. In any case, if you guys enjoyed this video, please let me know in the comment section. If you thought it was too wayward or haphazard, that's obviously, no problem if you want to offer that type of evaluation. What I was trying to do was illustrate how I think the little wrinkles to this particular version of the glitch blitz make it really enjoyable for me to watch, and then go back and look at other film. And I actually did this. I went back and looked at other third downs that I had saved so far this year, and I just hadn't seen one that involved those two elements that I spoke of. In any case, if you enjoyed the video, please let me know in the comment section, number one. Number two, if you think other Seahawks fans would enjoy this film study look at how Macdonald and Durde are really weaponizing the nickel blitz package on third downs, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.